This video will cover part 1 of chapter 6, the skeletal system, bones and bone tissue. We will be focused on learning the functions of bone in the skeletal system, bone histology, and bone anatomy. Let's begin with the functions of the skeletal system. The skeletal system is the framework that helps maintain the body shape and enables us to move. It is comprised of bones, cartilage, ligaments, and tendons. Ligaments are fibrous connective tissue that holds bones to each other. Tendons are connective tissue that attach skeletal muscles to bones. Now let's go through the functions of the skeletal system. First, the skeletal system provides support for the body. Bone is rigid and strong and is well suited to carry the weight of the body. Cartilage's firm and flexible nature supports structures like the nose, ear, and trachea. The second function is that the skeletal system offers protection. The skull protects the brain, and the ribs, sternum, and vertebra protects the organs of the thoracic cavity. The next function is the skeletal system allows movement of the body. Muscles are attached to bones by tendons, so when muscles contract, the bones move. The skeletal system provides mineral storage. Calcium and phosphate are stored in bones and released when they are needed. Lastly, bone marrow is where blood cells and platelets are produced. Now let's move on to bone histology. First, let's talk about hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is the cartilage most intimately associated with bone. Most bones start out as a hyaline cartilage model. The left image illustrates the embryonic cartilage model being converted to bone. Hyaline cartilage is also important because it is how bones grow in length. Also, bone repair involves making hyaline cartilage first and then replacing it with bone. Hyaline cartilage acts as articular cartilage to protect the ends of long bones. In our youth, when we are still growing, hyaline cartilage forms the epiphyseal plates where bones grow in their length. Bone is a type of connective tissue. Remember that connective tissue is made of cells that are spread out and separated by a matrix. 35% of the bone's matrix is made of collagen and proteoglycans. These give bone its slight flexibility. The other 65% of the bone matrix is made of hydroxyapatite crystals that give bone its hardness. Bone cells produce the matrix and become entrapped in it. They also break down old matrix and replace it with new matrix. The three bone cells are osteoblasts, osteocytes, and osteoclasts. Let's start with osteoblasts. Osteoblasts are bone-building cells. They secrete bone matrix through vesicles leaving their cells. The term ossification is the formation of new bone by osteoblasts. When osteoblasts mature, they become osteocytes. Osteocytes are the mature bone cells. They are located in lacunae, or spaces in the bone matrix. Cellular extensions of the osteocytes are located in caniculi, the long, narrow spaces connecting lacuna. Nutrients and gases reach bone cells by passing through the fluid in the caniculi and lacuna, or between cells through gap junctions that connect them. The last bone cell is the osteoclast. Osteoclasts function to break down the bone matrix. This is known as bone resorption. Bone resorption releases calcium and phosphate from the bone, where it then migrates into the bloodstream. This process increases the level of calcium and phosphate in the blood. When discussing histology, we need to first understand the two types of bones in our bodies. Compact bone has more bone matrix and less space. This allows it to be good at providing protection and supporting the weight of the body. Spongy bone has more space and less bone matrix. This makes spongy bone lighter weight and provides tissue support. Spongy bone is found sandwiched between layers of compact bone. This is shown in the topmost part of the image. Spongy bone is lighter weight due to the trabeculae that make up its structure. Trabeculae are interconnecting rods or plates of bone that look like and act as scaffolding. In the middle of the image, you can see how trabeculae create spaces. In these spaces, bone marrow and blood vessels reside. Endosteum covers the surface of the trabeculae. Endosteum is a connective tissue layer containing mostly osteoblasts and a few osteoclasts. Trabeculae form along stress lines to give the bone extra support in those areas. Compact bone is the solid outer layer surrounding each bone. The functional unit of compact bone is the osteon. Osteons are composed of a central canal surrounded by 4 to 20 concentric layers of dense matrix called lamellae. The central canal is lined with endosteum and houses blood vessels and nerves. The central canals of different osteons are connected by perforating canals, which run perpendicular to the central canals. Osteocytes are found in lacuna between the lamellae. Osteocytes connect to one another via gap junctions. The lacuna are connected to one another by caniculi. Caniculi allow nutrients and waste to travel to and from osteocytes. The image on the right shows the arrangement of an osteon. Next, let's focus on the structure of bone. We will begin with the structure of long bones. Long bones have a diaphysis, which is the bone shaft, making up the bone's length. It is compact bone surrounding a medullary cavity. The medullary cavity is a hollow space in the diaphysis that is filled with red bone marrow in children. Red bone marrow is the site of blood cell formation. In adults, the medullary cavity of limb bones are filled with yellow marrow, which is mainly adipose tissue. In other locations, the medullary cavity of adult bones is filled with a mixture of red and yellow bone marrow. The ends of bones are called epiphyses. You can remember this because epiphysis starts with an E, as does the word end. The epiphyses are made of spongy bone internally and compact bone superficially. Covering the epiphysis is articular cartilage. Articular cartilage is hyaline cartilage. In children, the epiphyseal plate is located between the diaphysis and the epiphysis. The epiphyseal plate is also known as the growth plate. It is a layer of hyaline cartilage that allows for growth in the length of the bone and is present until growth stops, usually in early adulthood. When growth stops, the hyaline cartilage making up the epiphyseal plate ossifies into bone and then is known as the epiphyseal line. In the image shown here, the bone shown is of a child still growing, as it illustrates an epiphyseal plate. The periosteum is a connective tissue covering the outer surface of the diaphysis. It is vascularized and composed of two layers. The outer layer contains blood vessels and nerves. The inner layer is a single layer of osteoblasts, osteoclasts, and osteochondral progenitor cells. Tendons and ligaments are continuous with the periosteum. Perforating fibers attach the periosteum to the bone, and they strengthen the tendon attachment to the bone. The endosteum is a single layer of connective tissue with osteoblasts, osteoclasts, and osteochondral progenitor cells. Endosteum lines internal cavities of spongy bone and the inside of the medullary cavity. Other than long bones, there are three other main shapes of bones. They are shown in the image on the right. They are flat, short, and irregular bones. Sesamoid bones are round bones and only a few exist, so we do not consider them in this video. Flat bones do not have a diaphysis and are a sandwich of spongy bone between two layers of compact bone. You could see this illustrated in the image on the left. Short and irregular bones also do not have a diaphysis. They are made of compact bones surrounding spongy bone, similar to the epiphyses of long bones. In some flat and irregular bones of the skull, we find sinuses. These are air-filled spaces lined by mucous membranes. In this presentation, we discuss the functions of bone and the skeletal system, bone histology, and bone anatomy of the four main shapes of bones.